Happening right now, Governor Phil Murphy and Acting Attorney General Platkin are making a law enforcement announcement in Cedar Grove.
Buddy Mark Arzamanian, who's with us in the back. I'm incredibly honored to be able to announce today that we are proposing new legislation creating a professional license for law enforcement, a license which all officers must carry as a condition of their service. I also want to acknowledge Chief Counsel Paramel Garg with us. Paramel, always. With this, New Jersey will join the overwhelming number of American states to establish such a licensing program, and in many ways, we're finally catching up with our fellow states. A designated license for law enforcement simply recognizes our women and men in uniform, such as those who graduate from this Essex County Police Academy, I might add, as the skilled and specially trained professionals they are. I also want to acknowledge our faith leaders today and a friend, Bishop Jethro James. Always an honor to be with you, Bishop, and your colleagues. Policing is perhaps the only skilled profession left in New Jersey that does not provide individuals with a license that shows beyond any doubt that they have been through rigorous training and are not just expected to, but are required to live up to the highest professional standards. Let me step back and make a declarative statement. New Jersey is blessed to have among the most professional and very best law enforcement officers to be found anywhere in this nation. And I hear that often, especially when I travel out of state and speak with other governors. But that does not mean that there haven't been rare examples of individuals who have abused the authority that they were given and squandered whatever goodwill they may have had in the community they served. And to be sure, any officer convicted of a crime or an act of domestic violence or any offense that would disqualify them from carrying a firearm or found to be affiliated with a hate group would lose their license and with it the privilege of serving in law enforcement. At the end of the day, that's a good thing, because this license and all it will represent will lift up the overwhelming majority of women and men working honestly and diligently to keep our communities safe. It will send a strong message that our cops and correction officers are living up to their oaths, both in word and in deed. This is a significant step forward for transparency and accountability and to rebuilding the bonds of trust between police and residents especially, not only but especially in black and brown communities. And by the way, I don't think any state in America has already deepened those ties. That doesn't say we're perfect. We're a long way from being perfect, but I think we've done as good a job as deepening those ties between law enforcement and the communities they serve as any American state, and this will be a huge step to further that. So overseeing this new program will be a new licensing subcommittee within the Police Training Commission, which currently holds the responsibility for developing and certifying all training courses for county and local police, county sheriff's officers, state and county investigators, state and county corrections officers, and juvenile detention officers, among others. And it was actually the Police Training Commission itself, roughly 2 years ago, that put forward the idea that the time had come for our state to establish a law enforcement license. Since that call, the State Attorney General's office, our partners in law enforcement through their representative unions, and numerous community advocacy organizations and faith leaders who have long asked for this step have been engaged in good faith discussions to create this program's framework. Matt deserves a big shout out, as does his team, and I want to give Andrew Bruck, your predecessor as Acting Attorney General, a big shout out here as well. And as part of this, we will expand the Police Training Commission to include a seat for 2 new public members and the New Jersey State Troopers Fraternal Association. I offer my deepest thanks to everyone who came together. It is a job well done for our communities. It is the result of bringing everyone to the table, even when they may appear to be from opposite corners, to find solutions. And it is something that future officers and residents alike will thank you all for as well. I'm going to work with my legislative partners, Senate President Nick Scutari, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin, and especially with Linda and Bill, as well as with the Republican leadership, to see this bill passed as expeditiously as possible so I may be able to sign it into law. And that will be a good day for our state, for our law enforcement, and for our diverse communities. And it will be a good day, as I say, not specifically for every trooper, sheriff's officer, local cop, corrections officer, others who proudly put on their uniform every day to protect and serve our state, and does so to the highest standards of professionalism. Again, it's an honor to be here today. With that, please help me welcome the Acting Attorney General of the great state of New Jersey, Matt Platkin. Matt.
Thank you, Governor. It's an honor to be here today alongside you, as always, Chairwoman Greenstein, Chairman Spearman, so many other folks in law enforcement, of course, Black Issues Convention Chairwoman, my friend Reba Foster, PBA President Pat Colligan, faith leaders. And I want to just underscore what the governor just said. It's hard work to bring together diverse viewpoints and build meaningful reform, particularly meaningful criminal justice reform. And that's something we've been committed here under the governor's leadership. And in New Jersey, we've been a national leader on bringing folks together and finding that common ground where we can promote the excellent law enforcement we have and also the interests of the community. And this is a tremendous example of that. So I really want to acknowledge all of the partners we've had in this effort and everyone who's here today, as well as the hard work of the team in the Department of Law and Public Safety, who have spent, as the governor mentioned before I even arrived, working hard for 2 years on this effort. But this is truly a long overdue and important step in our efforts to rebuild and strengthen that public trust, to promote a culture of accountability, and to ensure continued excellence and success of our law enforcement officers, which has been one of the strongest commitments of this administration. As the governor mentioned, over 40 states use some form of decertification or licensure for law enforcement officers. And many other professions have the same standards, whether it be teachers, doctors, counselors, electricians, hairdressers, so all licensed in the state of New Jersey. And I stand here as a licensed professional, where my license means something, where people know that I'm a licensed attorney. And that matters to me as a professional. So all we're doing here is bringing law enforcement into that same fold. Our goal has been to consolidate best practices from around the country and implement them here in New Jersey. And that's what this legislation does. Under the licensure proposal that the governor is announcing today, along with our colleagues in the legislature, law enforcement officers will need to hold a valid, active license that will be issued by the Police Training Commission. They'll also need to meet certain uniform professional standards. This includes passing a psychological evaluation and keeping up with professional training requirements. And they must maintain these standards in order to continue their service, or otherwise they can be subject to suspension or revocation after a hearing. The impact of these changes will be significant. First, and importantly, it will protect law enforcement officers by creating a system of uniformity, which is not something we currently have. At the same time, it will also ensure that officers who fail to meet standards of professionalism not only lose their right to have that privilege of wearing a badge, but they're also unable to obtain a new badge in a different town, or in some cases, an entirely different state. And second, and this is important, and I know this is the PBA president and I have spoken about this, it will help lift the unfair stigma that too often is placed on the vast majority of our law enforcement officers who are doing extraordinary work throughout the state. It'll lift that stigma that is placed on them because of the acts and indiscretions of a relatively small few. And it will help rebuild that trust with communities because it will give them the recognition that they deserve as licensed professionals. And lastly, as I said, it will instill confidence and strengthen trust between police and the communities that we serve by improving the disciplinary and hiring process and by screening out applicants who are unfit to become law enforcement officers, unfit to have that tremendous privilege of wearing a badge and keeping us all safe. So it's clear to me, and I believe it's clear to the diverse group of partners that we have, that the benefits of licensure are not only benefits for law enforcement officers, though I want to be clear, I do believe this helps law enforcement officers do their jobs better. But the benefits are also for the residents and the public as a whole. This legislation is fair, it was deliberate, it was thoughtful, and the process that got here is exactly how we will continue to build a national model for policing right here in New Jersey. Governor, I want to thank you for your support and the work of your administration. To our legislative partners, we look forward to working with you To our partners in law enforcement and community members, thank you for your support and your efforts, and to the Police Training Commission for being willing to take on this responsibility. So thank you all. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the legislation proceed.
Thank you, Matt. All great points. Deep thanks for your leadership on this and to your team. Please help me welcome the aforementioned Chairwoman and Senator Linda Greenstein. Linda, come on down.
Thank you very much, Governor and Attorney General, for your leadership on this, and for all of the unions and the police personnel who have worked together to have this day come. It was a long time coming, and I just think it really took that leadership to push it over the top, so thank you so much for doing that. Today is a major step forward for New Jersey. This announcement is the product of years of work and collaboration among state policymakers, local and state police departments, and community advocates to fortify the relationships between our communities and law enforcement agencies that protect them. Our communities will be better served, and our law enforcement agencies will be better equipped with a licensure framework in place. I am proud and hope to be one of the sponsors of this new bill. These new measures, shared by Governor Murphy and the Attorney General minutes ago, signify a new beginning, an opportunity to recognize good police practices and affirm confidence in policing more than ever. In July of 2020, the Senate Law and Public Safety Committee focused on the issue of police reform, hearing from law enforcement, advocates, academics, and community leaders. It was a very comprehensive 7-hour hearing, and I still remember that clearly. But it was a day when we heard from many people, including Reva Foster and many others who are sitting here today, Pat Colligan and others. Working in partnership with the governor, we've all made major accomplishments since that discussion, requiring the use of body-worn cameras, requiring implicit bias and diversity training, and increasing diversity in policing, to name just a few. Implementing a process to license our officers is a common sense next step, bringing New Jersey in line with over 40 other states. The process in which an officer's license is revoked is similar in spirit to those in which a lawyer's, doctor's, or even a cosmetologist's license would, through an unbiased and clear process following acts of misconduct, giving us yet another tool to weed out bad actors that make an incredibly difficult job even harder for the rest. Requiring officers to build a portfolio of continuous professional development to demonstrate their ongoing and up-to-date professional competence is a crucial step toward delivering safe communities and a fair justice system for all New Jerseyans. I'm thrilled to be here today. I look forward to working with all of you to move New Jersey forward, and thank you all very much.
Linda, thank you, and thank you for your leadership on this and so many other fronts. I mentioned I was giving Reva credit from schlepping all the way from Burlington County. Assemblyman and Chairman Bill Spearman schlepped all the way up from Camden, New Jersey. So please help me welcome another great leader, Camden's own Bill Spearman. Good seeing you.
So I was just talking to my colleague here, Mr. Culligan, and he said, it's always tough going last because everybody said everything already. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge everyone that's here. The fact that we have this group of partners coming together to create legislation that makes a difference in the community, it means a lot to me as someone who's born and raised in Camden and who still lives there today. It's good to see the police partnering with the community, with the administration, to make our police more, I don't want to say accountable because they're already accountable, but this sends a message to other states, to the community, to other states, to the nation, that here in New Jersey, we do it the right way. We work together, and our police are here to protect our community and to work with our community to make sure that our people are safe, that our children are safe. And I won't spend time going over the details. The governor, the attorney general, the senator have already outlined the details. And these are details that didn't just happen today. These are details that were worked out. I think, Governor, you mentioned that you started working on this 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
The recommendation from the commission was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is 2 years worth of work coming to fruition here today. So as chair of law and public safety and as a community person, I'm happy to be able to support the governor, and I'll work with the senator and my legislative colleagues to make this reality. Thank you for all the partners and for all your work.
Thank you, Bill. Great job, man. So well framed. Thank you so much, Bill, for your leadership, and again to you and Linda for taking the lead in this. My colleagues have rightfully pointed out that I've not acknowledged but need to acknowledge Essex County Commissioners Tashami Cooper and Romaine Graham and National Association of Black Law Enforcement Trustee Tyrone Williams. So honored to have you all with us today. Let's give them a round of applause. She's a dear friend. She is the chair, as I mentioned earlier, of the New Jersey Black Issues Convention, which is an incredibly important organization in our state, and I've had the honor to speak before that group on many occasions and work with her. Please help me welcome its chair, Reva Foster.
You know, this is an honor because even though everyone has already covered a lot of the major points that I was going to make in my speech today, this is an honor to be able to say that the New Jersey Black Issues has been a part of this, and we are happy to be here and look at this as an opportunity to be able to be recognized as one of the advocate organizations, to say that we're happy that it's happened. 3 times already, most people have said when they came up to this podium that this was long overdue. And you know what? I'm not going to let it be 4, but I'm going to let it be 5. It is long overdue, it is long overdue, and we're happy to have it happening today. While being developed, it took many, many hours of focused concentration and dedication to formulate the details that are in this mandate. The average resident in their community already realize that throughout their professions, we have people that have been licensed. How do we know that? Because we do, as the senator said, we do go to the doctors. We call upon lawyers to help us. Every day we send our children to teachers, as well as we go to cosmetologists and those that do our nails. All of them already have licensing to make sure that they're doing their minimum trained jobs to the satisfaction of that license. They also realize that there are definitions associated with their license to deal with misconduct. And these misconducts are documented and reviewed and looked at to determine how they are doing against that license. Finally, we have that happening in New Jersey with these legislations. And I think that deserves another applause for our governor and for our attorney general. I know, as well as the residents in the New Jersey community, knows that 40 of the states already have licensing for their law enforcement officers and their professionals in the community that they call on daily to assist them when they're in need to be assisted. May I say again, thank you, Governor. Thank you, Attorney General. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you from Camden. I came from Willingboro, but that's just above Camden, exit 5 on the turnpike, to be here. And I would not have wanted to miss it at all. Left early, had some traffic situations, but I made it, and I'm glad I made it in time to let you know that we should be proud that New Jersey residents will now say police officers, law enforcement officers that are in their community are licensed and are being evaluated based on their performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Those were powerful words, Reva. By the way, in case you weren't paying attention, we just heard exit 5 addressing exit 4. Reva, thank you. And thank you for your leadership and friendship. Last but not least, he's been a great leader on behalf of his men and women in uniform. He's been at the table. Again, this has not always been a straight line process or an easy table to be at, but he's shown outstanding leadership. Please help me welcome another dear friend, President Pat Colligan of the New Jersey PBA.
Can I suggest that the exit 4 and exit 5 carpool next time? We'll save fuel. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Attorney General. I'll be brief. First of all, regardless of what union you're in, I will restate what the Governor said. We have the finest law enforcement officers in the country. And regardless of what union you're in, when one of those members tarnishes the badge, we are all tarnished. And it takes a long time to get over that. And this was a collaborative effort with the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office. What I want to tell my men and women in law enforcement, to all the unions that we've worked on this, this is not a bill to be feared. This is a bill that codifies what was basically in effect. It clarifies some of the issues that we were having around the state with some unfair issues going on. So I believe that we've come to a realization with this bill that this really is nothing to be feared, and that it will be a good thing for law enforcement going forward. So we are usually, the Attorney General's office and the police unions are often on opposite ends of the boxing ring. To sit in the same corner and work with some familiar face in the back from your office was a pleasure, and I know that we got to a place that helps all of us in the state. So thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Well done. I'll leave with two thoughts. And as they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. So thank you all for coming out. Thank you for hosting us so graciously here. Two thoughts. It's long overdue, but one of the silver linings is when you do it and you're the 40s. We like to be the top 3, the top 5s. But when you're 40-something, the one silver lining is you can look at all the other models out there and put together what is, God willing, the nation's best model. And I think that's what's been done here. And secondly, I think you can both say, on the one hand, we're not in the end zone. We still have a road to travel as we deepen the relations between law enforcement and the communities they serve. But I'll tell you something, I would put our record up against any American state. You look at if you look at literally statistically per capita, the amount of incidents in the context of the rightful outrage after the murders of George Floyd and others, and people marching and people mad as heck and wanting justice, even in the midst of all of that, in that kinetic activity, who could blame anybody? I'd put what we went through up against any state in terms of the ability to walk in each other's shoes. And then this is yet another great step forward. So it's an honor to be here today on behalf of everybody who's spoken, the Attorney General, Linda and Bill, Reva and Pat, to our faith leaders. I've worshiped with Bishop James, and I've sat in pews with his congregants, sitting alongside members of law enforcement. One of your predecessors, the Attorney General, a dear friend, Chris Perino. You walk the talk, Bishop, and so many of your colleagues. To all the other leaders in law enforcement, men and women in uniform, elected officials, honored to be with you today. A big day for New Jersey. God bless you all. Stay safe.